All right, you ready? I'd like to call the public hearing to order. This is a public hearing to hear comments on ordinance 2318. Is there anybody here to make public comments? Let us know what you think about ordinance 2318. It's the updating of our comprehensive plan. Anybody here to talk about that or make comments on that? I'll call that public hearing to close. I'm going to now call the Irmo Town Council meeting for August 15th, 2023 to order, and I will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Would y'all please stand up with me? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to get together today and conduct the business of the town of Irmo. And please reach out to the family of Senator John Scott, who has been a certain mentor and advocate for the town of Irmo through all of the projects that we have acclimated and worked on throughout the years here in Irmo. Passing suddenly is surely a shock to the community and a shock to us here in Irmo. And I would pray that you would comfort the family and comfort the legacy of Senator John Scott. In your name, we pray. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. We have the reading of the minutes from July 18th. Are there any other, is there a motion for acceptance of the minutes?
To move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Fantastic. Any revisions or changes to those minutes? We received those electronically. I have a small change to the minutes. If you would, Madam Clerk, look on the minutes at presentation by citizens. You have that? See that? Okay. Under presentation by citizens, you got Mr. Hardy Hoots. It's Mr. Harvey Hoots. Got it? So those are the changes I made to the minutes. Is there acceptance of those modifications to those minutes? Is there a second? Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Second, okay, thank you. All in favor of the minutes as modified, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much. Report of standing, administrative briefing. We received the administrative briefing from Mr. Dennis. We all looked at it, I'm sure. Is there any changes from Mr. Dennis to the administrative briefing? Mr. Dennis, do you have any changes for the council? Okay. Very good job. Thank you very much. Moving on, Mr. Sickinger, do we have any new in-town businesses in the of Irmo, South Carolina?
Yes, Mayor, we do.
All right.
We have Flow Mortgage LLC, Hair by Haley McCollum, Carolina Healthcare, HVAC Inspection Pros, MedTrust Medical Transport, Natural Life Salon, Styles by Sam, The Well SC, and Wellness Massage Therapy and Aesthetic Spa.
Wow. Thank you very much. We continue to expand our horizons. Thank you. Will council join me down front? We'd like to recognize our business of the month. This is the time of the year or the time of the month when we get together and we have an opportunity to recognize the small business of the month. Will the members of the Lake Murray Drug Company come forward? All right, got a crew tonight. Cool. Come on up. Right here in the middle.
Yeah, sorry.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yes. All you are pharmacists?
Half and half.
Half and half. Okay, come on up, come on up, come on up. Want to get a good photograph? Courtney, you got a good picture for us? All right. Well, we recognize businesses of the month on a regular basis, and this month is your opportunity to be recognized by the town of Irmo as being the great business of the month. Do you have a microphone for me, please? Thank you. I'd like to read this to kind of embarrass y'all, all right? Okay. Town of Irmo presents to Lake Murray Drug Company in recognition of being the Small Business of the Month for the town of Irmo for August 2023. And I would like to present that to y'all. You can hold that. Look into the photograph up here. Got it. Thank you. So here, tell us a little bit about your business and what y'all do. And
I guess I'm the one.
yeah,
So my name is Justin Carter. Myself and my wife, we're the owners of Lake Murray Drug Company. We have 2 locations. This is our second location. This area is dear to me. I practiced at Rite Aid on St. Andrews for a very long time. I love this area, so we were really happy to be able to get back here. We love taking care of patients. We like to spend time with people, and we like to make sure everybody's taken care of and that they have good outcomes with their health. But we really appreciate this award, and thank y'all for having us.
well, thank you very much. And again, thank you for what you do for our community. We got a bunch of elderly people that need drugs a lot, legal drugs. Thank you. All right, bye-bye. Thank you very much. Thank you. Give me those glasses. My eyes. Moving on, I want community connections. Dr. Wallman, do we have any community connections?
Yes, we do. There's 2 items tonight that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. The first is the next Food and Artisan Market, which will be on August 26th from 10 a.m., well, actually from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Community Park of Irmo. The next item that I wanted to remind everybody about is that the Okra Strut is coming up, just 6 weeks to go. And tonight I wanted to remind everyone that registration for the parade will close on September 1st. So if you have a group that's interested in marching in the parade, a school group or a nonprofit or a business, please be sure to get your application in by September 1st.
Great, fantastic, thank you. I'd like to also call up from the Houston County Department of Public Works, the director, Mr. Malinowski, not Malinowski. Director of Public Works, Mr. Mike Maloney, thank you, and to give us an update on the Broad River Road widening project. And I'm dear to our hearts and our community, and I want to thank you, Mr. Mike Maloney, for coming and presenting to us. Thank you.
I have a schedule here. I can come back to it. I wanted you to have it so you had a little bit more time with it. But I'm going to bring up our project manager, Ted Thomas. I call him Ted. He goes by Ted. It's William Thomas. William comes by way of U.S. Army major, FBI agent, Richland County Sheriff's Department. VC Summer Project Manager, and several others. And so we're fortunate to have him help pick this up. I came to you, a year ago or plus to a council meeting.
Yeah.
And provided you this very schedule. It has more information on it than it did then. You'll see the red bar indicating the end of July, beginning of August, just as a reference point. And I'll go through some more details on that after Ted gives us some rundown from the overhead. We've got some, just some plans that we want the council and town to be aware of as far as the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this, if you would, Mr. Ted Thomas, just give us an overview where this widening project is starting and ending, please.
Yeah, good evening. Ted Thomas, I'm the project manager for the Broad River Road widening and many others at the county. The current state is we're 90% planned. We don't anticipate any major changes. There's a process we go through with South Carolina DOT where we submit plans to them. They review them, and then they make comments regarding design changes, traffic control measures, and the like. So we're on our fourth exchange with SCDOT in that regard. The limits of the project are from North Royal Tower to Dutch Fork Road. Originally, it was larger, but it's been scaled back, de-scoped for a number of reasons y'all may or may not be familiar with. So we're on our, hopefully, second to last exchange back and forth with DOT. We're conducting concurrent work while we're waiting for DOT to respond to comments. And that is right-of-way acquisition and utility coordination. As you know, may or may not know, some of the people in the audience, there's a 54 and a 36-inch water main associated with the project, and we may very well have to relocate those, which is a pretty large endeavor. And right now, we're still talking with DOT about whether or not we need to be doing that.
I got you. Is that DOT or is that City of Columbia you have to do?
Well, it's the City of Columbia's facility, they own it.
Right.
And so we are acting in color as a prime entity responsible for the project. So we're acting on the city's behalf, talking with DOT about the possibility of maybe leaving it in place. I don't know how far we're going to get with that, but it needs to be discussed. So other concurrent work we're conducting, right-of-way acquisition and utility coordination with telecom, city water, and power. Those get rather complex. And also, we're coordinating with prospective business in the area we have a number of different developers that contact me on a regular basis, exploring the possibility of moving into the area, buying properties, things of that nature. So we're coordinating that as well. Some of the solid that we know for sure are moving in would be Biscuitville. There's a car wash and Wendy's. So other than that, I can talk further if you have any questions. Did I answer everybody's questions?
So we're ready, we're moving forward in the acquisition of the right-of-way as we speak.
Yes.
And so that's moving forward.
Yeah, so we're to a point where we're gonna come to a stall, and we may end up having to stall and wait for SCDOT to respond to some comments before we can get an authorization to proceed with the final right-of-way acquisition picture, so to speak.
Is that for down in the Royal Tower area or tore up in,
The project in its entirety,
oh, really?
yeah.
Okay,
Yes, sir. So we have, we've had discussions with DOT and with exploring the possibility of them granting a conditional authorization to proceed.
right,
They can stipulate the conditions, but what's been hashed out is if we have certain right-of-way parcels that we don't see any possibility of contentions, then grant us the permission to go ahead and start the final processes with those. If we have others that may be an issue, we'll put those to the side, just so that we can continue to move forward. And, you know, because of the compressed timeline, we need some leeway with that if they can grant it. So there's been discussions about that. No decisions made yet, though.
okay. I'd like to talk to you about that and get involved in that conversation with DOT.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But any comments from, or any questions from council?
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you. So this potential stall is not reflected in this time plan?
The director can go over that with you if you
Okay.
like.
You have drawings up here. I don't have a lot to say about that first drawing. If we can go to the next. I think we had quite a few drawings up here of a particular area we wanted to show you of detention. We would have to zoom back out a little bit there. There you go. You can kind of see this as, get to that location on my plans as well.
That's Royal Tower and.
Yeah, North Royal Tower, and that
right.
is the area where we're looking at, I believe the town owns that lot. It says 2 at the top of the page on the
Right.
right.
Friars Gate sign.
So working behind the sign, we're looking at, there is a large amount of stormwater coming through that area now. While this doesn't cure anything upstream of it, it's meant to, prevent flooding in the roadway itself. So it does detain waters that are coming in from the neighborhood behind, and then it creates a pickup and release point. So we are investigating all the way through and under I-26 with that water. But it's something that we have to do going from essentially a 2-lane road to a 5-lane road. We do need to provide stormwater management. So that will become a key area there to do that. Whenever you have a more impervious area, you would have a larger peak in the runoff, and you need to shave that peak down and put it somewhere and detain it, and that would be a more than adequate space there shown. The lines running around it are 1-foot contours indicating a basin there. It does release all the water, so it's not intended as much to be water quality where you'd put a wet basin that's wet all the time. It's meant to be a stormwater basin that's wet when it's, raining out, and then to store it for a number of hours and release it at a slower rate. That's the location of that. We'll have more talks as we're getting into property acquisition, easements, and all those types of things. We'll certainly be working with the town on that.
Is this where DOT is giving you a hard time, or is it further up the line?
They're not, that's just a general statement. We have to go through a 60% review, or it's called right-of-way review. So for us to be able to actually go out and negotiate right-of-way with the landowners along the corridor, we have to have their authorization to proceed with that. So we get a written certificate to proceed. We're waiting for that. They indicated in the next week or two we'll have that, so we can be released to do that. And then we have one more authorization to proceed, and that would be when we bid the project out. So there's those two key review periods. On the schedule I did hand out, I can go over that now if you would like. There are two red blocks, and that is sliding over to right-of-way plans, SCDOT, review and approval. That did extend out. We do have an agreement with DOT to do these reviews in a certain amount of time. It essentially works out to be about 5 calendar weeks that they have. Each one of these blocks is a month, so we had adequate time for that, but it did take the extra 2 months to get their comments. So we have the comments now, as this indicates, and we have been working on our response to their comments. They are considering authorizing, before we get all that worked out with them, on issuing an authorization to proceed early, which is what we're hoping for in the next week or two. To make up for that, I show some orange blocks on the rest of that plan development area. Those are where we forecast additional time. We always had some slide in that area because below it, under right-of-way acquisition, there's just 2 long blocks of cells there. That's the time for right-of-way acquisition, is always known to be a lengthy period of time. And so we had over a year and a half for that. So that and design normally finish together, but we always had forecasted design with a little bit of play, to finish earlier. We're going to likely utilize most of that if this and then our final review at DOT takes a little longer. Also down below are 2 long blocks that are underway, and that's the utility coordination. We didn't want a lot of different hands to have to work with and coordinate with for this, so this project has 1 consultant that has sub-consultants. CECS is the prime consultant, and working under them is Michael Baker, one of the a national utility design firm in town here with an office, and they're working on all the relocation of water main, which is quite present along this corridor, that it does need to move out of the way. The DOT has a requirement that sewer and water, for instance, couldn't be under the roadway when you widen it. So that's why we're moving things back. So all in all, the block ends at the same point right now. That is, January, February, right there of 2025 is the project award occurring. And then we're just month by month moving across this, trying to, get all these items done. Permitting is underway. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers 404 permit has been started, so that's on track. We'll also have an NOI, water quality with the DNR, and the rate control being reviewed, as we said here.
Okay,
All right.
fantastic.
Thank you for being here. What would you say is the biggest risk to the project timeline, through January 25?
Those reviews, we can't control those, so they're the only thing we have that's out of our control. It is DOT highway, it is DOT maintained, and it always will be. So, it's theirs to review and ensure it, complies with the final state that they're going to be maintaining. They will maintain it throughout the entire process. Obviously, when in construction, we'll have a contractor taking certain responsibilities for traffic control, et cetera, while it's under construction. We really haven't talked about the construction period. It'll be likely a 3-year period on it, with widenings, like we're widening Blythewood Road right now. And it's not as extensive as this project as far as the length of the project, but it is also a road that's going from 2 lanes to 5 lanes. It doesn't have as many businesses and property acquisitions along the way. but construction has started on that, and it was given 2 years. And some people said, really, 2 years? You know, I said, well, the first year that we bid these out, the utilities have to be relocated. So in some locations where I've worked, utilities were a separate contract, and people said, yeah, we haven't started yet, but they're really, you know, creating issues with utility relocation. So we bid out everything together. So one general contractor, just like we have one general consultant working on it right now. And that helps with the coordination.
Thank you. So if I'm hearing you right, and I respect that there's a lot of project work that goes into this. You don't just say, hey, let's widen this road and pull out the shovels, right? But if I'm hearing you right, in a perfect world, this is somewhere in 2028 that it's completed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's after the construction stuff, the max, yeah. But we got to get to 2025 to actually start churning dirt, which is not a lot closer than we've ever been, I think.
Yeah, it's the same, it's the same schedule we've been talking about. And then when we talk about construction period, a lot of people will be driving on new pavements during that period of time, et
Right.
cetera. But finished, you know, with landscaping, you know, the grass is growing and everything's done and the punch lists are done with the contractor. It takes a few
And
years.
you are going to put a traffic light at Royal Tower and Broad River, right?
Yes, sir.
That's a new intersection, we'll have traffic
Yes, sir.
signals, okay.
Yep.
Fantastic. Any other questions for Ms., go ahead.
I have one, so further along in the year, and not that you need more work to do, but will there be like a conceptual drawing that's gonna go out to the public at some point, or?
Yes, we do have a drawing now that we had a public hearing, what month was that? At the elementary school.
Cool, yeah.
3 months ago.
Yeah.
But we just launched a new website, so we will be posting it on that. We will make it available for download. And what we had at that meeting was the entire length of the roadway rolled out on, you know, that kind of length with several tables. So it may not be something that's easy to print because it's going to be narrow this way and long. But people could go in and get sections of interest to print out.
Fantastic. Any more questions? Seeing none, Mr. Maloney, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate the update, and I'm encouraged by the diligence that you guys have given this project. You know, the fact that we've been doing this for, they say for 20 years, I've only been mayor for 3. But I'm glad to hear that we're actually going to get to the end goal, which is reducing that traffic flow. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you. Okay. Moving on, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the town council agenda for tonight?
I'll move.
There's a motion by Mr. Sickinger. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Properly moves in second. Are there any comments? Any comments on approving the agenda? Seeing none. Let's see. Will the clerk read the roll for approval of the agenda?
Mr. Bush,
Yay.
Mr. Danielson,
Yay.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. As this point of the meeting is presentation by citizens. Anybody who's here who would like to make a comment on the agenda items only, what we're talking about tonight, I would love to hear from you. This is your opportunity to come up to the podium and let us know what you think. Is there anybody here to make presentation by citizens? Seeing none, we'll move on. Unfinished business, second and final reading of ordinance, excuse me, second and final reading of ordinance 2318, that's adopting the comprehensive plan 5-year review. I'm sure we've all had an opportunity to look at that. Is there a motion for second and final reading?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Sickinger made a motion, Mr. Bush second. Any discussion on that finalized 5-year review? I see the only thing that we've done is taking out a lot of that downtown language out of the updated 5-year review. And I don't know, maybe down the road we'll revisit that again. But we haven't changed any of the zoning language or anything in that, so I don't see any issues. Anybody else have any comments? Seeing none, will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson?
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger?
Yes.
Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Second and final reading of ordinance 2319. That is the business updating of the rate classes. We are going to put them in one spot. Is there a motion for second and final reading?
So moved.
Sickinger, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bush? Any comments? Seeing none, will the clerk read the roll?
Mr. Bush?
Yay.
Mr. Danielson? Mr. Signature?
Dr. Signature
Dr.
to you.
Signature.
Yes.
Sickinger? Dr. Waldman?
Yes.
And Mayor Walker?
Yes. Okay. New business, first reading of ordinance 2320. This is amending the standards and placements of small wireless facilities, which is basically saying the 5G towers, which is considered a small wireless box. I'll make a motion for first reading. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. The small wireless towers or facilities, we're going to 5G right now. And when we go to 5G, there's some issues that may come up as far as the radio waves emanating from that. And I know that there is a thrust with the state to just adopt this as a whole. They've already worked through the language as a municipal association and the state of South Carolina have all worked through that and figured out, yes, we'd like to go to 5G, but the implications of what happens with that 5G signal has not been ironed out yet. I am concerned about the number of 5G towers in a certain location. In other words, right now we can put a 5G repeater on every single pole, every single light pole in the town of Irmo, which would basically plaster the whole St. Andrews Road and Lake Murray Boulevard and any other roads right of ways that would need it with these little 5G repeater boxes. But the question is, what is emanating from those boxes? I know those are strong signals that come out. And quite frankly, I'd like for us to investigate the proximity of all these 5G boxes in a workshop. We can move this item into a workshop first and then bring it back at next council meeting and vote on it, or we can approve it as written. But again, I'd like to have that conversation. We're going to have a workshop between now and next council meeting. Been dropping workshops like crazy on me. September 5th, after Labor Day, okay. Well, I'd like to, if you will, make a motion that we suspend this, defer it until the next meeting, defer this ordinance until the next meeting, and then we have an opportunity to talk about it at the workshop on the 5th. That's my motion. Is there a second? A second for the motion to defer this item until we have an opportunity to discuss it. Seeing none, my motion fails. Going on with it then, Mr. Sickinger, do you have a?
Yeah, just, I appreciate your desire for due diligence, and, you know, certainly I'm in favor of that. The fact that we have a workshop between now and then, you know, if our minds change or if people feel differently, certainly we can vote differently in the second reading, but that's why I'm in favor of just moving forward with the vote as it is, and then seeing where we stand in September.
So you want to pass it as written?
Yeah, as
All right.
is for now, for the first reading, and then
Mr. Danielson?
having room for adjustments in the second reading.
I agree. If we could have a workshop, if we're gonna have that, we could pass this now, have the workshop in between. Just talking about it. I don't know how far that's gonna get us unless we have engineers in the workshop to help us with this. So that's just my reality of the real world. So if, I would suggest we do that if we're going to have somebody there, someone who can tell us who's done these readings and has a meter and can tell us what's coming off these things. So I agree with Councilman Sickinger, but I also agree with you, Mr. Mayor, that there are issues there. We need to make sure we're okay.
Okay, Mr. Bush?
So this was brought by staff. Mr. Poland, is this, did you have some input into this?
Excuse me, Mr. Bush, you can ask me anything you want. What is it you're asking? What is your comments?
Well, it's a staff proposal that was on here.
No, this is what was given to us from Municipal Association. That was the language that was
So
passed down. So we're just
what I would
basically
like to
taking-
know is where they pulled this from. If it was
Municipal
a
Association.
standardized
Municipal
municipal
Association,
association
right.
document.
Yeah, that's where they pulled it from. That was given to us as standard jargon throughout the state of South Carolina. And that's what I'm saying. The problem is that I'm not willing to adopt an ordinance without any investigation of what the implications of having these repeater boxes, these 5G boxes on the pole. We have one, and I'm not debating, I'm just saying we have one provider who wants to put a 5G pole repeater between McDonald's and the Truist Bank. But that's just one. And I understand that the signal has to be repeated every 50 or 100 yards. And so they may go back and say, well, we need to put another one further down the road, another one down the road, another one down, and you end up with a bunch of these little repeater boxes all throughout the community. But the question is, what are these boxes emanating? What signal are they emanating? And that's what we don't know, and that's what I like to investigate before we allow them to randomly put up all these boxes.
So what's your source of information so far since you've?
My source of information is the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the FCC. In fact, the airlines didn't allow them to put the 5G boxes up near the airports because of the signals that were being emanated from the 5G boxes would interfere with the airline signals, the radio signals going to airlines. So if they had a problem, I'm sure we need to investigate, is there anything coming from these boxes that would give us a problem?
Well, I would definitely agree with you that we need to have an expert probably if we're going to have a workshop and debate this. Because
Well, that's what I'm saying, that's what
on
I'm,
this level, I don't think any of us have the experience to, debate the signal strength of 5G.
well, I don't know, but I know that the airline didn't want it, so they didn't want it for a
Airlines
reason.
have radios in their planes. They probably don't want to interfere with the landing.
We got radios in our police cars, I don't, that's gonna be a problem. We gotta do some
I
work,
I
is
just
what I'm
think maybe
saying.
if we're going to have a workshop and we're going to talk about it, we should probably have somebody here that would understand it and be able to explain or answer questions.
Good, Dr. Waldman?
I agree with the idea of going ahead right now and doing the first reading tonight, and then discussing with someone with the knowledge at our next workshop.
Okay, any other comments? Seeing none, will the clerk read the roll on the proposed ordinance?
Mr. Bush,
Yay.
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
No. Thank you. Moving on, first reading of ordinance 2321. This is amending the technical code that will utilize Department of Labor Licensing and Regulatory Board, Regulatory Building Codes, basically updating it to the current standards that we are under. Is there a motion for first reading of that ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Seconder and Mr. Bush. Mr. Seconder, do you have any comments?
Not particularly, except this is clean up, fix up, we upped our standards, you know, kind of thing. So works for me.
Okay, and is there, Mr. Bush?
Do we know what version that they're on right now?
Yes, we do. It's, was it 2023? I think you said it was 2021?
It's the 2021 code.
2021 code, and we're going to be updating it to the 2023 code.
The codes come out every 3 years, and so we're currently in 2021, and then in January, I believe January 1st of 2025, the state will adopt the 2024 code. This just allows us to roll right into that and not have to actively do it ourselves.
Thank you.
Dr. Wallman.
Have any questions?
Mr. Danielson.
I'm good.
Okay, will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush,
Yay.
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. Approval to purchase 3 Chevy Silverado PPP trucks from Love Chevrolet for the police department. Make a motion that we accept that proposal. Is there a second? Approval, is there a second?
I'll second.
Danielson. And this is for the police department, and this is not a car. This is not an SUV, this is a pickup truck. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's basically like a Tahoe, but a pickup truck. Tahoes is what we were hoping to stick with, but there's a shortage of that right now throughout the country.
And the color is white. Is that correct?
Yes, the 2 patrol cars will be white. There's one admin package that's going to be black.
Black? Okay. Cool. Mr. Danielson?
Delivery? Any idea?
They're on hold for us right now.
They are
at
held. We
Love
had the
Chevy.
conversation. They are on the lot at
They are.
Love Chevrolet. Okay, good. Thank you.
They're probably the only police rated car that I could get in the entire state that's on hold right now.
Mr. Sickinger?
Just for public, you know, transparency, why are we buying more trucks? Why do we need this?
Well, so like I said, this is a truck. I mean,
Well, why do we need 3 more vehicles, I'll
when you-
say?
well, this is replacing three other vehicles in our fleet. We still have some 2014 and 15 Impalas that are draining us in vehicle maintenance, so we're trying to deadline those. The trucks themselves are, you sit in them and it's like a Tahoe, but they are 4x4. Currently in our fleet of 32 vehicles, we have 4 4x4. This would add 3 more to the fleet. Not to say we're going to use 4x4, but if it's necessary sometime in the 5 years, snow every 5 years, you never know if we'll need it, so that'll be helpful.
Dr. Wallman?
Is this expense in our budget for this year? Thank you.
It is. I think we had, what, was it 200,000?
It's 229.
229 in our budget for this year. Mr. Bush?
I yield my time.
Okay, will the clerk read the roll, please?
Mr. Bush,
Yay.
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. To contract with Stewart to complete the comprehensive plan for the town of Irma. This is a 10-year comprehensive plan. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion.
Danielson, is there a second?
I'll second.
Danielson, Mr. Bush. Mr. Danielson, you have any comments?
Yes, sir. This is time to get going on this. I did read, I did not realize that Councilman Sickinger had requested that we see all 5. As I was reviewing the first, those came in, which was very helpful information. I think I was very impressed by 2 or 3 of those proposals. I think this one has got some local knowledge, and the numbers were right. I think one of them was completely off the table, if I recall. So my question to staff, to Courtney and Doug, is why this one? Is there anything specific that we should know that we couldn't glean from reading? Are we missing anything? But it certainly looks thorough and experienced to me.
Okay. Mr. Bush.
Yield my time.
Dr. Wallman?
I would like to hear if staff has any specific recommendations with regard to this particular proposal versus the others, because I too looked at the others, and there were several that were reasonable, but this one does look very good.
I would say what Councilman Danielson said was right on the mark. They have the best price for a qualified firm. They recently did Town of Lexington, and they're doing Town of Fountain, or City of Fountain Inn right now. So they do have a lot of local knowledge. We spoke with the administrations of both of those towns, and they had positive reviews. And so between the price, their local knowledge, and they seem to be doing a good job for people of like size and locality, they seem like a clear choice to us.
Okay. Mr. Sickinger. No comments? Okay. This is for the 10-year plan going forward, not the 5-year adjustment that we just voted on previously. There's so much involved in that, and I want to make sure that we have conversations with the public as well as the council, whoever the council will be in the future, in the next, I guess, starting in January, that we look at those desires of where Irmo's going to grow, what Irmo's going to look like in the future. And the only way we can get that is if we have input from the public, and as well as input from whatever the current council makeup is. That being said, I personally think that $120,000 is a lot of money to spend on something that we really, it's not due until, 5 years from now, 4 years from now? I think we need to really slow down and get input from the public and get them to chime in on the way Irmo looks now and where the Irmo will look in the future. And hopefully we'll be able to find that happy medium that we can give this information to whoever's going to do that. But that being said, I'm not saying we shouldn't go forward with the actual planning of it, but we should actually make sure that there will be public input in that. I'm sorry.
I could feel you about ready to call the vote, so I wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I was.
Their plan does have, in fact, some of the other highlights have significant community engagement as part of that plan. And, we could wait, but I feel like in 4 years, I don't know if the town has 4 years to wait to then start that, or 3.5 years to wait to start that, because we are in such a state of growth and change right now. I would hate to kick the can, in a manner of speaking, just because it isn't due yet. It's okay if our final is handed in early, in a manner of speaking.
Kicking the can is not what I was referring to. I was referring to the fact that we have, it's a lot to go into how you want this town to look in the future. in the near future. So that being the case, I just want to make sure that we engage the community, engage the public as much as possible to get that done. Anyway, that's my two cents. Any other comments?
Yes,
Not-
Mr. Mayor, I have another comment. These folks are hired professionals. They will engage our public way more than we could from a council level. Probably 20% to 30% of this comprehensive plan is all about the public. So that's critically important. And I agree, we wouldn't want to do anything without the public's input on this thing. But that's what they do, and they know how to take that and put that into working documents and actually pull off the comprehensive plan that we all buy into. And I think it's critical. We're only talking a 12-month project here. I mean, the time frame is about 11 months, if I'm correct, to do this, so 12 months. That's a year into the next council. So I think we have been elected to do our job now, and I think we need to do that. So that's my comments. Thank you, Mr.
Great.
Mayor.
Any other comments? Clerk,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Danielson that a big part of this process that this company will do is the engaging the public. In fact, on page 21 of their proposal, there's a graphic showing their public engagement techniques, and there's 9 different approaches that they will take to engage the public in this process. So I'm confident that during this process, we will get sufficient public input.
Great, any more comments? Seeing none, will clerk read a roll?
Mr. Bush,
Yay.
Mr. Danielson,
Yes.
Mr. Sickinger,
Yes.
Dr. Waldman,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes. Appointment of the accommodations tax committee. Every year we have to decide where all this accommodations tax money is going. Saw Mr. Ward, he slipped out on this. Okay. Anyway, the Okra Strut uses a lot of this accommodation tax money to put on the Okra Strut. So this is our committee that basically says, okay, we got $300,000. I'm just kidding. We have a large sum of money to dole out to worthy nonprofits, worthy organizations that bring tourism to Irmo. And this is the appointment of the board that we do that. Right now, we have 2 openings, 2 vacant positions representing the hospitality industry, which means anybody from a restaurant or service industry. We have, and this is interesting because we never had more people that wanted to be on the committee than we had openings, but this is our situation we're in tonight. So we're going to appoint 2 people from this list. And when do we get the applications for these folks? Yeah, when do we receive the application? June? Okay, and then we received Andre Beach, applications from Andre and Beach, and Michael McNeil and Kelly Monroe. These applications from all of them? Yeah, I'm saying. What I'm asking is what order we could receive them. Yeah, in other words, we got one from Andre first, and then we got one from Beach second, or what?
Andres was received July 10th. Beaches was received July 14th. McNeil was July 12th. And Keelan Monroe was August 3rd.
Okay. All right. That's great. I just want to know that because those are the people that responded right away on those dates. With that being the case, anybody wants to make appointments?
I'd like to nominate Beach Loveland.
Okay. Is there any other nominations? Huh? Well, I want to find out, yeah, I mean, there's only 2 openings, I mean. Well, I mean, what is the debate? I mean, if she nominated Beach Loveland, we will certainly get him, but we have 2 openings. You want to? I'd like to nominate another person. I'd like to nominate Andre Fontana. So now we have 2 people. All right. So what is it, a debate? I mean, these people want to serve, and are there any other nominations? Being none, all in favor of Beach Loveland and Andre Fontana? Say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Clerk, Andre Fontana and Mr. Beach Loveland will act as our appointments from the ATAX Committee for this year and will represent the hospitality industry. Okay? Is that clear? Got it, Mrs. Madam Clerk? Got it? Good. Thank you. Presentation by citizens. Is there any presentation by citizens? Thank you for coming and being a part of this. You're welcome to, nobody signed up, so come on up. Come on up. Give us your name and address, please, and let us have a presentation by citizens on any subject you want the council to know. This is not a debate. This is an opportunity for you to give us feedback.
My name is Dr. Marion Boyd Sr. I live here in Irmo, South Carolina, 101 Lake Murray Boulevard. And I'm very concerned about this last election that you made about who's being selected to serve in Irmo. But I need to know, you look at the council tonight, you got 1 black serving on council. What is the ratio of what minorities will be represented in your selection of new people who will be hired in Irmo? That's my concern, because I'm a citizen of this county and I love Irmo, and I want to be sure that we are properly represented. We got 1 mayor, and you can vote against the mayor. That's all it takes. But if you hire minorities to represent qualified minorities, and there are qualified minorities here in Irmo, and how are you recruiting people to serve on these committees? What kind of representation are you sending out? If you got a vacant position, are you advertising a vacant position so people can properly apply? Or who are you sending these representations of vacant positions to? I don't know nothing about anybody that has left the council or left any position in Irmo, and then when you get ready to fill a position, what kind of representation are you sending out for people to apply? I don't know whether the people that applied, whether they're the minorities or whether they're white. If you're going to be represented by Irmo, we need to have black folks, white folks represent Irmo. It ain't all about a piece of people. This is my home. And I'm not in the area where I can vote for people who on council, but I want to be sure that when you vote for people to serve on any committee or either in any job in Irmo, that you have proper representation. Is that fair? Am I speaking clear? I'm retired HR director from Orangeburg County. I traveled from Irmo to Orangeburg for 20 years. I was the first black to work at the Budget and Control Board to recruit blacks to work at the Budget and Control Board because nobody knew, black folks didn't know what the Budget and Control was all about. And when I started recruiting blacks for the Budget and Control Board, they said, you're recruiting too many blacks. I said, that's my job, is to recruit qualified blacks to work and serve on council, serve on boards and serve in positions in Orangeburg, in Lexington County, Richland County, and for the Budget and Control Board. Are we doing the same thing here in Irmo? Are we representing Irmo? Tell me, are we doing that? That's what I want to see, and that's what I want to hear. That's why I come to meetings, because I want to be sure that y'all doing the right thing to represent the people of Irmo. You tried to buy people land out in Irmo. Didn't come and represent themselves, they would have been gone. But you had to abandon the project. So I'm here to be sure that y'all don't backtrack on us. This is my home, and I ain't moving. But I want to be sure that we are properly represented by the minorities or people who are qualified, who are educated, who have lived their life here in this town of Irmo.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. I appreciate those comments.
I'm gonna be on you. I'm not gonna never stop coming. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else would like to make, okay, let's come on up.
Hello, I'm Wade Deloach, 156 Finsbury Road. I want to thank everybody for voting in the comprehensive plan tonight. I also would like to say that, speaking of the comprehensive plan, I was to talk about the widening of the Broad River Road, and that the town gets a good piece of property that could be be great for the community. And if we're going to a storm detention pond, let's at least put an underground detention pond and save that land. I mean, Mr. Danson had a good idea of putting a piece of a train there. We could probably maybe build a wooden replica of a caboose or something and put there. If you turn it to just a hole in the ground, then it really take away from all that. It's kind of curious that across the street, there's plenty of property they could have put in the pond instead of right there. Why there? Maybe they felt like the town would get it to them for free. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But at least do something with the land that, keep it looking good, put an underground detention pond so we can use it to make the community look good aesthetically when you come in. We could do something, positive for the community with it. Also, one other note, if you go forward to let them have that as a pond, make sure whatever the pond is, that it's deeded to them. Because if it's deeded to the town and not deeded completely to them, you're going to be responsible for maintaining it. And they, in the past, done that to towns I know that from West Columbia, where I work, they've done that. They've actually had detention ponds that they'd build, but the land still was in the town, West Columbia's name, and they ended up having to maintain it. So just be careful of that.
Thank you. Anybody else to make comments to the council? Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on. Executive session, we do not have one. Sorry, I jumped ahead. We have a discussion item on restriping the roads in town. I put that on there. Again, we've had several citizens call me and call town hall about the erosion of the double yellow lines to the point where they're actually gone. And when we actually go through and we had a monsoon rain come through, you cannot see the delineation from the right side or left side. Now, I'm not talking about going through and restriping the entire town, but we have certain roads in town that need to be cared for. Specifically, we need to look at restriping Lake Murray, College Street, from Lake Murray, from the college, Midlands Tech, all the way to Lake Murray Boulevard, from Columbia Avenue at Carmel Commons, where Common Commons is to Woodrow Street, from Friarsgate Boulevard, from Irmo Drive at Friarsgate Boulevard, all the way to North Royal Tower. From North Royal Tower at Friarsgate Boulevard to Crestfell. And from Carlisle, from Columbia Avenue, right across the street here, in front of the town park, to Carlisle Street to Lake Murray Boulevard. Those are the roads that I identified that are desperately needing restriping. And so I've asked the administrator to look at that. Mr. Administrator, do you have any quotes on that? From the county or from anybody?
No, I've reached out to Peak, restriping pavement markings.
Right.
Today. I sent him an email to Mr. Dye to see if he can give me some linear feet. The number that Mr. Maloney gave, he couldn't do it, so he sent me to Mr.
Right.
Dye. So I'm waiting to see how much they would charge per linear foot.
Okay, so you're looking at what it would cost per foot and that, okay. All right. Well, those are the roads that I identified, and those are roads that are desperately needing restriping. I'm not talking about restriping the entire Royal Tower, because half of Royal Tower, South Royal Tower, was just repaved, and that's been done. So I'm just talking about those particular roads that I mentioned, and I will send that forward to you. Any other discussion from council? Mr. Sickinger?
No, I don't have much except to say that, hope that we can get some clarity on who actually owns those roads. Town, the Lexington County, I think a lot of us were under the impression that College Street was DOT or the county, and Lexington County says College is private. So I don't know who's supposed to be responsible. I don't know if we got an answer yet. So it would be nice to know, is the college supposed to be responsible for that? Is the state supposed to be responsible for that? I think originally this conversation, the last time it came up, was about College Street. The scope of suggested improvements has expanded thousands of feet, which is concerning when we're talking about 500 feet to, I don't know, a mile. I have a hard time trying to figure out where we draw the line, and I know that you talk about building relationships, and I know you have a lot of great relationships at Richland County. I'm curious if you've made that call to say, hey, these streets are really bad, they need striping, before Irmo takes up the mantle. I mean, our budget is a percentage of county and DOT, and it's 1/100% of DOT. So I also really, really don't want to spend money out of our residents' taxes that we're supposed to be good stewards of when they've already paid taxes to have those roads taken care of.
Restriping, not, yeah.
I mean, it's, maintenance,
Restriping,
one way or
right.
another. And I am also further concerned uncovering how many roads Lexington County thinks that we're supposed to be responsible for. And what I don't want to do is I'm worried about precedent, because today you're talking about striping, and it's not just College anymore. Now it's these other roads. And if we say, yes, let's do that, then where do we draw that line? Is it just striping? And then, potholes, I think about over by Chadford, over by the school, by H.E. Corley, that crosswalk is a mess. And a really good argument could be made that we should also fix that, right?
Was it the holes?
If you've ever driven it, you know it. It's been like this for like 6 years now. Yeah, it's not level. It's full of holes.
okay.
It's been It's as you take that turn at the end of that, and my mind's blanking, but turning left on going to H.E. Corley. So I just want to know, I want to be really clear about what we're undertaking if we decide to do that, because then a future council says, well, you know, that crosswalk's really bad, so now we're putting 200K into repairing a crosswalk that's got a lot of problems in it. And of course, I'm taking a huge leap from striping to 200,000, and I'll
Let's stay on task,
I'll
okay?
admit that.
Let's stay on
But my
task.
point is that I don't want to see us spend money that we don't need to spend when it's already been effectively paid for by our residents. And the
Okay.
county should be doing it.
All right, Mr. Danielson?
Yeah, I would love to get these roads restriped, but I have other concerns, i.e. if we do bring somebody in to do it and we don't own it, and there's a wreck while they're doing it, and liability and those types of things. And then exactly where do we open that can of worms? There's a lot of places, and I don't think we're really clear on what we own and what we don't own, or what roads we really have and what we don't have. So if we could speed that process up and figure that out, that would certainly help us get to a determination point on something like this.
Okay, Mr. Bush?
This might sound ridiculous, but maybe we could get in contact with the respective counties and find out if they could give us a stipend if we do. That way, the money's coming out of their budget, which is where it should come from in the first place.
Okay, Dr. Wallman?
I agree with my fellow council members that there's a lot of things to be concerned about here. The liabilities while it's being done, the precedent that we would be setting by taking on this responsibility when it probably is county or state road maintenance ideas. And as Mr. Bush mentioned, if we could get the counties, if they can't do it now, but they could give us the funding to do it, then we could arrange to have it done. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with setting the precedent that we start paying for upkeep of roads that aren't our roads. And as Mr. Sickinger said, are already being paid for to the county or to the DOT.
Okay. Mrs. Sickinger, Dr. Wallman, that's nonsense. Both of y'all are talking nonsense. This is about the safety of our community, our citizens. Our citizens have told us that those roads and those particular roads that I mentioned, I'm not talking about the entire town, but those particular roads that I mentioned in the beginning of the conversation are at the point where you cannot discern the delineation between the right side and the left side. Now, of course, we are in America, and we all drive on the right, and everybody else drives on the left, and we're not talking about miles or hundreds of miles, Mr. Sickinger. We're talking about a few hundred feet and maybe a 5-gallon bucket of yellow paint, and whoever contracts we decide to contract with, they can handle all the liability issues or getting the right, getting the police escorts that they may need to do it. Citizens are in danger. We're talking about saving citizens' lives. You voted to go to virtual meetings and, not be here live, and now you're telling me that you don't want to take the bull by the horn and put some yellow paint down on the road to save people's lives. I mean, where do we draw the line for that? I mean, it's a serious situation. It's a very dangerous situation, Dr. Wallman, when we want to wait on the county to do something to save our citizens from coming into harm's way, when we can do it. And if you're worried about the cost, I've gotten quotes from $5,000 to $15,000. We're not talking a $100,000 project. And to be honest with you, I think it's more important that we do these things to save our citizens, make sure that they're safe on those particular roads. And in fact, on Shadford Road, where the old mayor's house is, if you're going up that hill, that road, that stripe is gone. You can't tell the right side to the left side, but you cannot know the person on the other side of that road coming over. They may be over too far to the left. But you can have a major accident right there on Stratford Road, you know, by, as you go by the old mayor's house, coming up that steep hill. You know, that can be alleviated by simply putting 2 yellow lines down so people can know, and not wait on the county to do it, or not to debate the county and see if they're gonna pay $15,000 to get it done. But that's just my 2 cents. You know, I'm willing to go out on a limb and spend the money to help save our citizens' lives. Are there any comments?
Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead.
First of all, we have a ordinance that says you should not involve personalities in your messages when you're speaking from the chair. So please be careful.
Well,
of all that. I'm sorry,
listen,
I'm speaking right
no,
now.
we
I'm
have an
speaking right
ordinance,
now.
but,
Is my
you know, it
time.
doesn't- okay.
Now is my time. Thank you.
All right.
And I think that was out of line for you to.
Well, I'm glad you
be-
think it was out of line.
I'm
but
still
it's-
talking, Mr.
it's a
Mayor. I
fact,
was quiet
okay?
the entire
So
time
you're
you
back and
talked.
forth with me, I'm gonna be back
I
and
was
forth with
quiet
you,
the
okay?
entire time that you talked, and
All
I
right.
was respectful. I'm being very polite right now. I'm allowed to say my opinion just like you are, and I didn't shout you down. I don't think it's fair that you try to bully me because you don't like my view.
Okay, I'm glad you feel like that.
I'm still
Any
talking,
other
Mr.
comment?
Mayor. I haven't yielded.
Okay.
So, I think this is ridiculous that you've created this kind of a situation. I understand that an election is coming up. in
Created
November.
this situation,
I'm
Mr.
still
Sir?
talking, Mr. Mayor.
Created a situation
Mr.
with
Mayor,
this
I still have the floor.
thing? Okay,
So, coming into today's meeting, I figured this would be a relatively simple discussion. You would say, I want to get College Street striped. And I would say, well, you know, we don't know who owns it. I don't know if we're allowed to stripe someone else.
go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I don't understand. Are you in a bad mood today or something?
No, I'm want
You're
you,
laughing.
you're addressing
You're
me.
interrupting me.
I'm not,
Like, I don't
are you
understand.
are you gonna address your statement, or are you gonna address me?
I was talking
We're gonna be
and I
back
had
and
to
forth?
stop because
Well,
you
let's be back and forth then, Mr. Sickinger.
Point of
Let's
order.
be back and forth.
Point
if
of
you wanna
order,
do
Mr.
it.
Mayor.
No, not point of order. You are addressing me.
Point of
so
order,
we're
Mr.
wrong.
Mayor.
Okay, I don't want to,
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
go ahead, point of order,
I
what?
have the floor and you are
But
interrupting
you're
me.
addressing me directly. Make up your mind if you're gonna talk,
What's your
talk.
ruling,
Don't
Mr.
address
Mayor?
me.
On my point of
Your
order.
ruling is, you're out of order.
I challenge the ruling of the chair.
Go ahead, talk, say what you want to say, but don't
The
address
chal-
me. Don't address me directly and don't expect me to respond. Go ahead, Mr. Sickinger, you can make your point.
The challenge to the ruling of the chair is that I had the floor and the mayor continues to interrupt me.
But you're addressing me directly, so make up your
and he's
mind.
continuing to do it. This requires a second. If you vote yes, then you are agreeing with the chair's
No,
decision.
you asked me,
If
you
you vote
asked me
no,
point of order.
you are
and you're-
disagreeing with the chair's decision. Is there a second?
You can't have
second
a
that.
second on that. It's not a debatable object. It's
That's
not a
right, it's not
act.
debatable.
So continue your conversation.
I call the question.
Continue your conversation, Mr. Sickinger.
I vote no
You vote no on what?
on the challenge to the ruling of the chair.
I vote no as well.
Vote no as well.
I vote no.
Okay, I vote yes. The chair of the meeting, I voted. Okay, so go ahead.
Thank you.
Nobody drew a comment. Go ahead.
So coming into today's meeting, I expected this to be a relatively simple and straightforward thing that we could all, maybe begrudgingly, but agree on, which was, sure, let's restripe College Street. We've been talking about it for a while. We don't know who owns it, and that was relatively new information. But let's go ahead and do that. It might be $500, $1,000. Certainly not a big deal, something for us to do, and it can be done relatively safely. Then adding in, hundreds of feet. So just College alone is hundreds of feet. So adding in Columbia and Friarsgate Boulevard to Royal Tower and North Royal Tower to Crestville, Carlisle, that's a lot. And I just don't think it's fair to take a question around asking for, making the phone call to Richland County and saying, hey, we need striping here, what's the story? And getting an authoritative answer from them and saying, well, if you can't do it, will you pay us for it? I don't think that's ridiculous. And, you know, I think, in my opinion, it's just, it went from something simple to, you know, you came with a list of stuff. And I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that we do the right thing for the people and not just do it because we think that we can do it quicker. I mean, we might even need to put it out to RFP, depending on the cost.
Okay.
Depending on the cost.
Any other comments? Mr. Bush? Mr. Danielson? Dr. Wallman? Okay. Well, I'm glad you feel that way, Mr. Sickinger. Mr. Courtney, would you get a quote on those streets that I mentioned and find out from your guy what it would cost per linear feet to stripe that? And then I want to put it on the next agenda where we can either vote it up or down if we want to save lives in the town of Irmo. Thank you very much. Is there a motion? We don't have an executive session. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
I second it. All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.